Maple Namu. Hello, and welcome back, or for the first time, to the Maple Namu Podcast. My name is Chris, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about how I need to learn more Korean. But just before we start, I'd like to say a little bit about the Lunar New Year holiday and thank any one of the new subscribers. It's kind of nice. I like seeing those numbers go up, so thank you. If you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed and want to make me feel like I'm actually doing something good, feel free to hit that button. And even if you never listen again, it'll make me feel happy. My Lunar New Year was okay. I spent most of it alone. My wife spent a lot longer than we expected on her side, staying out there, and she needed to take care of her mom. And how could I say no to that when we just spent 3 weeks in Canada taking care of my parents? So I spent a lot of time with our needy dogs, and they definitely needed me. It's absolutely not the same. I am not making that comparison. I didn't suffer that much, but I definitely appreciated or really feel for women, or I guess any parent that's stuck at home in an apartment all day with a small child. Absolutely not the same, but also, a taste of that. So I hope that you can get out and see the world if that's your position. I kind of kept myself in the house because our dogs like to bark at everything. And of course, during the holiday, even though the government says not to, a lot of people came, and I didn't want our dogs to be out there barking at family members. They're already too noisy, and I don't want them barking at people that aren't usually here and just kind of putting a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So I just stuck in the house, and I don't think anybody would know that I did that or even appreciate it, but I did. I know I did it. And maybe that's just my justification to sit at home all day playing games. But my wife came back yesterday. I went and got her. And it's been a bit of a disaster since. Neither of us slept well last night, and our dog got sick and spent the night throwing up, which was great. We had to take her to the vet this morning, and she's fine now. We can tell. This is a dog that loves food, and she wasn't eating even snack food and treats. So we knew something wasn't right. But she got some medicine and a couple shots, and she's doing fine. But speaking of the Lunar New Year holiday, my wife was at her side of the family's house, her parents' house, and she was watching a show with her family, and her dad saw this foreigner chef that was going around and visiting people in Korea and speaking Korean. And then her dad says, "Oh yeah, he's better than Chris." And my wife is like, "No, Chris is better. He speaks a lot better than this guy on TV." But he didn't believe it. And that's probably because I don't really talk to my father-in-law. I do definitely need to study Korean more. My level is all over the place. I know things that I shouldn't know, but I don't know things that I should. I can figure that I'm about a 5th grade level. Maybe not the full knowledge of grammar and history, but in terms of who I can communicate with. And I guess that makes sense because most of the places I use it are, teaching elementary level kids. So the place I use it the most is the level I'm at. It makes sense to me. And I can also understand women pretty well, or anybody from Seoul. And my wife isn't happy about that because she doesn't want me listening to other women all the time. But it makes sense. I spent a lot of time in the office at my first 5 years here in a public school, and generally the English teachers in public schools are younger women because they put them in the English teacher job because they have babies early. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on all of that. But generally, I was around younger women. And if there's 5 women in an office, they're going to be talking to each other, and I'll sit there and listen. And that's kind of the level or where my ability came from in terms of that. I did spend quite a bit of time studying Korean when I lived alone. I made it through level 4 of the KIIP program. In Korean, I think it's Sawe Tongap Program. Like for the English is Korean Immigration Integration Program. The idea is that by the time you're done that, you can get enough points for your visa, or your language level is high enough that you should be able to survive in Korea. And honestly, I probably shouldn't have made it past level 2, but somehow I made it through. I got way too far behind. The classes are kind of designed for people who are already fluent speaking, but they don't know the grammar. And what the issue was is I could figure out the grammar quite easily because I have a linguistics background and I just sort of think that way. But I couldn't hold a conversation or make a sentence out loud for the life of me. So because everything is sort of grammar based, I made it through where I probably shouldn't have if anybody actually talked to me. So anyway, I made it to the end of level 4. I never did the test because I knew I was going to fail and I didn't want to have a failure on there. But anyway, I kind of stopped studying Korean because I met my Korean wife, and the way it worked is I was doing 5 days of work, and then Saturday and Sunday I would go and do way too many hours of Korean classes, and I decided that I wanted to spend more time with my Korean wife than I wanted to spend in a classroom learning Korean, and I actually speak a lot less now. She's not happy about that, and I should speak a lot more. But yeah, that's something I need to work on this year. I think that's part of my yearly goal. Hopefully I can. I do okay with my mother-in-law. She's a lot easier to talk to. And sorry to the guys out there, but women are a whole lot easier to understand than men. It's probably because of that mother instinct. I mean, when you're teaching a baby to speak, you tend to... I think it's called motherese. Might actually be the real word for it. But the way a mother talks to a baby is such a way that you wouldn't talk to another person, but it's really good for learning. So moms tend to have that skill in changing the way that they speak so that someone understands them. My father-in-law is kind of stubborn, and he won't really slow down or speak clearly. When I first met him, he might as well have been speaking Chinese. I even said that when I first saw him. I was like, the first time I met them, my wife's been saying like, yeah, Chris knows Korean. He knows Korean. And then I meet my father-in-law and he says like, hello. And you came down. How was the drive? Or something like that. And I just had no idea. A deer in the headlights. So that was a great first impression. And even on the holiday, he was asking me a question, but it was cold. So he had his hood on and he had something covering his mouth. So he's hard enough to understand to begin with. And then he said something kind of like, I have no idea how I'm going to transcribe that. But I had no idea what he was saying. So it's hard. It's challenging. He's not a bad guy. He's just, on TV, they have shows where people in the country are talking and there's subtitles. If my father-in-law had subtitles, I'd probably do a lot better. In terms of my level, though, I'm pretty okay for basic day-to-day things, like going to the bank or hardware stores. I can do the classroom. My students understand instructions, and that was actually one of the reasons I started learning Korean in the first place. Students would ask me questions, and I couldn't answer them, and I didn't like that, so I learned enough to answer them. I did have a teacher at one point, but I lost my job, and there was something else I wanted to say, but I guess I forgot. I need another teacher. It's easier for me to learn if I have a class, not necessarily paying for it, but if somebody wants to teach me. That'd be cool. My wife thinks she can do it, but it doesn't really work that way. It's hard to teach or learn from a spouse, someone you're married to. So if you're interested and want to teach me some Korean to kind of figure out where my level is, it's like I said, I know things that I shouldn't know, and I don't know things that I should. That could be kind of fun. What do you think? Other than that, this is kind of, I would like to ask for your help if you're listening and you've made it this far. I like the nature of a podcast is it's very one-sided. It's just someone talking and other people listening. And I would kind of like to have a community or have a place where people could ask questions or give ideas or, anything around this, around maybe foreigners in Korea or something. So I would really appreciate it if you did listen to this and you could reach out. What kind of thing would be good for creating a community here? A Kakao channel, Discord. Maybe you could ask questions. I would love to do a podcast episode with questions from listeners. One suggestion I had was to record these on video so somebody can see my weird facial expressions and things. If that's something you're interested in, I would love to know. Other than that, if you enjoyed listening today, let me know, please. If you didn't enjoy, you can also let me know, please. And other than that, have a great day.